Hello everyone, my name is Ekaterina Bright and I'm here today with my colleagues Kationa Fitzsimons and Andrew McCafferty from Haringey Adult Learning Service to present our project of embedding well-being approaches in essential digital skills programs. You can view our Padlet displayed, which outlines our project. Can everyone see the Padlet? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Knowing that fake news, misinformation and disinformation are having a real impact on community health and well-being, especially in COVID times, we decided to investigate the effects of embedding misinformation and disinformation in our Essential Digital Skills program. 99% of our learners on these programs are female, and women are knowingly affected disproportionately by COVID. Therefore, we thought this is a good idea. The project was carried out in 3 stages. The first stage was about the learners who were introduced to the projects and created short video clips where they recorded how they feel about the online space. In the second stage, learners took part in 2 workshops around misinformation and disinformation. And my colleague Kationa is going to talk to you about this in more details shortly. In stage 3, learners shared well-being journeys with their peers and created a second video diary recording how they feel about the online space following the workshops. Over to my colleague Andrew, who is also the deputy for the project, who is going to talk about learners' experiences.
Thank you, Katerina. Yeah, so my name's Andrew. I was the project deputy for this research. So I was the tutor for the entry 3 EDSQ, so all the learners were studying at entry 3. Couple of modules that this covered was working with digital media and being safe and responsible online. In terms of digital media, we got them to do some video diaries. So they identified different devices, but as a group, we decided to record them in Microsoft Teams for them to then progress further and edit their own videos, hopefully on a higher level. 6 learners participated in total, 5 of which were female. So they completed a short initial survey about their views in the online space via a quiz on Edmodo. And this motivated them to do the video diaries based on the results of that. So we recorded all of the learners, but I'm going to just showcase a couple of them here. There was a few questions, 5 questions we asked, but again, I'm just focusing on this main one here concerning their well-being. So question 4 was, are you concerned about what is real and what is fake or misleading? So I'll let the learners do the talking. I'll start with learner K here.
Information differently. I've got 2 daughters, one is 19, one is 16, and I've got their age daughters that I'm thinking of when I talk about the easy access to information, and I'm not so sure that it's always a good thing. I personally find, seeing with young people, that the easy access to information makes them feel that they are in control because they know stuff, but it's not really that they know, it's that they know how to get or how to access stuff. But I find they tend not to assimilate. They don't think about, they don't talk about, they see it, and there tends to be, especially over time, a tendency to accept it because, oh, well, I've been hearing about it, oh, my friends have been hearing it. Because it becomes more commonplace, then it's more acceptable. So I think for the young people, it is a problem. For older people, I think it's a similar but different sort of thing. I think older people, we probably process information differently, but again, it can sometimes be a little confusing. The easy access, the bombardment might not be the right word, but the easy access to all this information can sometimes be a bit disconcerting. I think as you get a bit older, you start almost to question what you know and how reliable your understanding and knowledge of things can be. So it's a problem across the board, I think, but in different ways.
Okay, and then the second learner we're showcasing.
Yes, I'm concerned. I'm trying to avoid news which are full of violence and aggression, and I just try to sort out everything. So I choose what I want to hear, what I want to see, and I'm just stepping back and I see, my point of view, if it's real, if it's not real, if it's if it's fake, or if it's trustful, if I can trust the news. It's now it's a very difficult situation with this news, because it's getting more and more, and when you just if you watch TV, especially TV or radio, it's just full of the headlines, and then the headlines are really hitting. Basically 2 words can just tell us everything. But this is just because of to get attention, on a certain channel of TV, or just to get some more attention, like the journalists or reporters, they do paparazzis. And I think, I'm trying to be aware.
Okay, so this was all pre-workshop. So I'm going to hand you over to Kate Schroeder now, who delivered the workshops in the sessions. So over to you, Kate Schroeder.
Thanks, Andrew. Hi, everyone. Misinformation is being facilitated in the online space at a scale that we've not seen before. Our approach for this project was to create a series of co-design workshops, which allowed us to work with learners to get an understanding of how misinformation affects them based on their lived experience, and to design resources to meet their needs. When asked if they were concerned about what is real and what is fake or misleading online, the learners provided some valuable insight into the impact of misinformation on their well-being. One learner expressed concerns around violent and aggressive news stories, another how misinformation might affect her children. A young mother said that she finds it very scary not knowing if what she is reading or listening to is real or not, and shared her worry that the intention of misinformation might be to control you or to make you believe something that isn't true. The first workshop focused on giving the group an understanding of what misinformation is and what motivates people to create and spread it. During the workshop, the group completed a quiz to explore their attitudes and feelings about misinformation as they learned more about it. The second workshop focused on supporting the group to develop personal messages and statements about misinformation, to raise awareness and share advice about looking after our well-being in the online space. The project approach of breaking down the key aspects of misinformation, for example, defining it and sharing tools to identify it, was successful in helping the group to feel more confident about dealing with and interacting with misinformation online. Creating the personal messages and statements facilitated discussion around the issue and hearing about lived experience from different perspectives. So I will now pass you back to Andrew, who will share some more about the learner experience with you.
Thank you, Katrina. So our post-workshop we did a second video diary. Again, this couple of questions, but this was the main focus. How confident are you now that you can look after your well-being and of your friends and family online in relation to what is fake or misleading? So I've got the same 2 learners again, and I'll play them in the same order.
I definitely feel more equipped. It's good also to know that it's so serious that there is a need to educate people, meaning it's not just all in my mind, and I don't have to say, oh, don't worry about it. I do actually have to not worry, but think about it. There's I suppose similar to like online fraud or whatever, you are always aware that as the public becomes more informed, the people doing this figure out ways to get around things like that. So you've always got to be on your toes. I do feel more equipped, but I guess I'm always expecting that something will come along and catch me out, but it'll be fewer things because I know a bit more about it.
I think I got so many informations. I never thought about that before. I was aware, just to obviously not to take everything from social media as a truth. But then here I got so much more. And it really helps. I'll be much more aware of everything, and I will double check everything. I will also advise people. Yeah, like I advise everyone, to be aware of. Of course, not to be like paranoid about that, but obviously we're living in this kind of world like now that we need to be. We have to have our eyes open and just decide what is good, what is bad. So that's I think was really helpful.
Okay, so I'll hand you back over to Katerina, who's going to sum up what we learned from the project and what the next steps are.
Thank you, Andrew. So following the project, we had different improvements across halls. We had allocated online space created and is regularly used for well-being discussions. Practitioners involved were professionally developed as action researchers. Use of critical thinking about education, values, and practice are ongoing within staff. Embedding well-being in health session was implemented and continuing. A curriculum model with learners empowered to co-design content was adopted, and staff is continuously developed via the enhanced digital teaching platform. We also have some plans for the future, and we would like to further develop tools to promote learners' critical thinking in real-life context in order to develop independence within our learners. We would also like to extend the well-being messages produced by learners in different languages to support diverse community well-being. And we would set up learn how to create and edit own videos, digital skills workshops to improve our learners' digital skills. So, yes, thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, please do let us know. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Haringey team. And what an amazingly creative and wonderful way of actually presenting, and conveying the learner voice. Joe's saying it's a really thought-provoking project, and several delegates are just saying what a fantastic way it was of putting these across. If you've got questions, then please put them in chat, and David and I will be sort of gathering them together for the end, so that you don't just have to come straight out of your presentation and have questions fired at you straight away. It's nice to have a little time. So I think next up we have got Sandra and the wonderful Coventry team. So I'm seeing Sandra, I'm seeing Neil, I'm seeing Lynn. Who else do we have from Coventry? Who's going to start for us?
I will. I'll be starting, but it's collective effort, so we'll all be pitching in somewhere along the line.
Neil,
okay, everybody ready?
Haringey, take it away.
Okay, Sandra, if you could put the slides up at some point, that'd be great. All right. A welcome from the City of Culture, Coventry. I thought I'd throw that in as a bit of promotion for the city. If you didn't know already, we took the baton on from Hull a few years back, and we're actually started that for about a month now. Okay. Our project was a very short, small-scale one. We've only been doing it for about 3 or 4 months, and it involved assisting council staff to improve their digital skills. So these are council staff with little or no digital skills, and the aims are kind of twofold. One was to improve their sort of communication skills at the work, and maybe for home and with their family, but also to build up skills that enable them to progress onto the essential digital skills qualifications sometime in the future. And from a very early stage, we involved our tutors, and it was they who came up with 3 great ideas about what they wanted to do. So if we can get the next slide up, that'd be good. Thank you very much. So the 3 ideas were the use of the video conferencing platform Zoom, obviously to communicate at work and with your family. So setting up meetings, how to conduct meetings, etc. So that was done by Hamish. We'll be talking about that in a minute. Then Lynne looked at the use of Google Jamboard as a sort of interactive whiteboard. Can be used for collaborative activities. And interesting enough with Lynne, she used it as a formative assessment tool as well, which I'm sure she's going to talk about. And last but not least was Martin. He was using Google Sheets, again, to promote learner collaboration online. And again, so students were working in the classroom time, but also they were able to access Google Sheets outside the classroom time, which is what online enables us to do. So the kind of common theme running through these 3 activities is probably learner collaboration. All of them have got that theme running through them. So I'm going to hand over to Hamish, who I think is going to talk about Zoom. Okay, Hamish, all down to you now.
Hi, everybody. So I use the Zoom platform for my online learning with the students. And as you know, for a lot of them, it was a new transition. So they were very used to face-to-face learning. So we sort of developed some resources on using some screenshots from Zoom, how, where students would need to go to join a meeting, how they could even, conduct their own meetings as well, because end of the day, we wanted them to be aware of the fact that it's not just during the class that they can join our meetings, that this is something they could actually set up, independently on their own. So it was showing them all those skills on Zoom and how to use it effectively, really, and also how to study productively during the time that they're on the session. So learning all the features, you can see on one of the examples there, I even got some feedback as well. So once they've done an activity, I sort of got them to sort of feedback on if they had any difficulties, whether there was anything that they wanted to improve on. And then the following week, we could introduce that concept to them. So it sort of flowed for them as they were learning how to use the Zoom platform. So that's really from my end in terms of how I sort of worked with the students online and introducing them to this platform, because there's so many out there, and there's a real comparison as we're learning today between the different platforms, but this gave them the sort of ability to look at the Zoom screen and actually follow the tasks that I had set for them. I think the Google Jamboard, did Lynne want to explain that one?
Yes, thank you. All right. Our challenge was we've gone from the classroom very quickly into a situation where the learners were beginners, had to be able to understand how to connect to the video conferencing like we are today. From that point onwards, it was then how do we transfer their work for them to be able to work from their own homes. That didn't seem too difficult because we could make attachments, send them to them. But then came the exam part. How were we going to achieve being able to pass over documents that really needed to be in secure situations? Being able to email somebody with an exam paper then would become very difficult to control where that exam paper went. So we were playing around at the time with the Google Classroom, and I decided I would go off and have a little look what all these icons were, what was available. There was this wonderful new word, Jamboard, which then became captivating for myself. What I did was I took all the exam papers and turned them into digital Jamboards. Each page had all the questions that were asked them that would normally be on an exam paper, and they would interact while being viewed, being able to move the icons around, as you can see on the little example that is there, which is just one little part. Now you can see there's quite a lot there that I've created, and each one of them asks questions and then they can interact. They can either move icons or pictures into the correct places. Sometimes it's typing in words. They're taught how they will interact, how they will create the Jamboards, how they do their exam papers. And then we can view and make sure and keep the control of everything that is being done. I started off by doing the papers, and they would work on them, and suddenly realised that it was holding the information, which was then causing the problem for the next learner. Investigating a little bit more, exploring what was available, I realised that I could actually copy it. I could create more than one. I could create one for each learner. I could then send them as a collective, and I could then view them, being able to work on the Jamboards, moving the icons into the correct places. I could view their situation. Was there anybody assisting them? Was there anybody helping them? I can view all of the learners moving the different things. So it was a great tool for teaching the skills, and then to be able to create the papers. From that, I've moved a little bit more forward now to the point that I can actually have PDFs, which I'm holding one in front of me. And nicely, they're very clear to read. They are all typed by the Jamboard. Each PDF can be stored. I can keep control of those. And then I can actually print them off for myself to be able to mark, because marking online, I did find quite difficult. I got myself quite confused as where each part was, whereby actually PDFing them and printing them, I could mark them like I would have done normally in the classroom. So the Jamboard for me has become a new technology. I'm old school. I for many years taught in the classroom, and I didn't want to move forward onto these sort of platforms. But I've got to be honest, I've got to hold my hand up. It is absolutely amazing. It's made my life easier. It's making the learners' lives easier. When on discussion with them, each step, because I've grown with them, I've been able to ask them, interact and say, did you find that easy to complete? Did you find it more difficult? And some of the things that I'd created, it's made their lives maybe more difficult than it would normally be. And for others, it made their lives so much easier. So I've adapted to make it work. And I'm a big fan now of the Google Jamboard.
Thank you, Lynne.
A pleasure.
You. Martin, if you'd like to talk about Google Sheets.
Okay, I found Google Sheets very useful indeed, because what it replaced, normally I would work with learners together on the interactive whiteboard, and we'd do a group session on introducing software like this together. We're using Google Sheets. We could work together, and we could do the calculations, and we could help one another when working together. So I found it very useful. And the learners enjoyed it as well, where they could actually see them putting in the calculations. If they made a mistake, they could easily help each other. And I found that was a good learning process for them, particularly because we were in lockdown and we couldn't see each other. So they found that very useful. And from that as well, we can go on to Google Docs and Google Slides as well afterwards. So we found it as a good stepping stone for working together and helping one another, basically. So yeah, find it very useful, Google Sheets, and for sharing as well with each other as well. So
thank you very much then, Martin. Thank you. Just seeing what has been produced over the few months that we've been on this research has proven that the creativity is there. The tools that can be used to actually enhance teaching and learning has also been there for us, and how we can move forward with that. I've just enhanced a couple of the examples of the Jamboard. The one on the left showed that the EDS sections or questions that were asked within a session and the student responses. So it was a quick tool to get some formative assessment going on within a classroom to check learner understanding and comprehension of what was being asked. The one on the right is one from Lynne's group that I showed earlier, of all those little pictures, showing one of the interactive assessments that from the summative assessment, the live assessment, that learners can do as they're building their skills towards essential digital skills. So those two boards there, for me, culminate what can be achieved with Jamboard. Google Sheets, being able to use them, as Martin was saying, synchronously in the class and also asynchronously, because I know that one of his learners couldn't attend one day, but she was able to interact with the same sheet that was being used in the classroom. So that was a good thing. What staff said. Neil, over to you.
Okay, so obviously
1 minute warning.
This is council.
So I've got to keep time quite strictly. So you've got
Okay, so I'll go through it. So you can probably read that stuff there. So obviously we got the council staff to feedback through video, through interviews, etc. So yes, they found it really, really useful. Some have been able to set up meetings with their families on Zoom for the very first time. Seen the use in other subjects as well, like in maths, for example. Can we move to the next sheet? Next sheet, please, Sandra. Okay, so of the tutors, it's been a learning curve for them as well. So it's been about tweaking what they've been doing as they've been going along. So, so things like making the questions trickier towards the end of the course, as opposed to easier at the beginning. Some activities more for student engagement rather than for assessment, so it's keeping them engaged and interested, and icebreakers as well. So I think that's all I'm going to say there. Okay, you can look at the stuff later.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then on to what next, with only half a minute to go. We're going to be using these findings and in sharing good practice across the service, and letting others know what tools are out there, that how we've used them and how they can use them also to embed EDS. We're going to encourage more staff to take on EDS through the using the Enhance website, and we're embedding at the moment, as I'll move on, EDS into ESOL. So that's going to be a big learning curve for us, and I'm sure the Jamboard and working on Google Sheets and other things will help with the learning process, and also the use of Zoom. So I want to thank Veronica, who's also in the background there, who has been working tirelessly with the team to keep them focused on this research and bring out such wonderful resources. Thank you, Veronica. And thank you all as a team. It's been wonderful.
Thanks so much, Sandra. That's brilliant. And thank you respectively there to Sandra, to Harmesh, Lynne, Neil, Martin and Veronica for that. I've been trying to keep up with chat before we go on to our final presentation, which is from our Westminster colleagues. So just going back to Haringey, Joe says he's never seen a project especially dedicated to digital wellbeing before, and that the videos on Padlet and use of Padlet is a great idea, says Sandra. When it comes to Coventry, I was just so impressed about how honest your presentation was about some of the challenges you've had. Katrina says it was a really creative use of Jamboard and interactive resources. And Andrew said that Jamboard was a great way to collate exam work in one place. Andrew had a question. I don't know if Coventry colleagues, you'd like to deal with that in chat, or we can maybe come back to it at the end. Does each learner have a password for their unique Jamboard? So maybe we'll have time to devote to come back to those questions. We'll cross our fingers, but it's a whistle-stop tour today. So I'm hoping that we have got, I'm looking across my gallery right now, that we have got Maisie from Westminster. I can see Maisie. You might have camera and microphone off at the moment, but our final presentation is Westminster Adult Ed. And hopefully I can see you, Maisie. Fantastic. Welcome. I should explain that Westminster are dual presenting in 2 rooms at the moment. So Jazz and Maisie are a team, and they've come rushing in from another room. So you need to clone yourself. Maisie, you're on mute, but the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm not sure where my co-presenter is right now. I think he's in the other, and he has the presentation, I'm afraid.
Well, don't worry, I have got a backup of your presentation.
Oh, fantastic.
If you want to do a Chris Whitty and shout next slide, please.
That would be great.
I can do that. So give me a second. Wheels are just turning in the background. Hopefully,
Brilliant.
It's pretty much what you were expecting. Are you seeing that?
Yes, we are. I am. Yes.
You just guide me through then, Maisie, and we'll do it.
Okay. Okay. Next slide, please. Sorry, my name's Maisie Brown, and I work for Westminster Adult Education Service. Primarily, what we've been doing is we've been developing a session that supports learners with LDD. And we're helping them to access Teams. So ours is really, really grassroots. Most of our learners had no understanding of computers, let alone a computer system, let alone learning Teams. So we had to go back to basics and actually think about how we were going to support them. Thank you. Okay, so our challenge was, as I said, to enable them to use the actual functions that we had. One of the major challenges was because all the departments use Teams, to get them on the computer itself and then use all the functions that it has on Teams. And this, as you can imagine, took hours. You know, so there was lots of phone conversations as well as being on the computer, and some learners didn't have headphones, so it was literally a phone and a computer and doing it that way. But it was a collaborative thing, and all the staff team got involved in that, but it did take hours. Sorry. So teachers, as Kate mentioned, teachers were spending hours. There was a lack of patience from the learners. Our LD learners, as you can imagine, you know, they want everything now. They want to be able to see everything now, and that just wasn't happening. So, you know, we were on the phones talking to them patiently, making sure that they got it. But it wasn't just with the learners, it was with carers as well, because obviously during lockdown, there was a lot of support from carers. There was a lot of support from parents, and this made it even harder as well. There was also lack of language barriers too. So we also had that as well. Thank you. So we devised a simple A4 sheet with what the learners could use to actually get them to the point where they were actually on Teams. And this is our sort of A4 sheet. But what we also found was there was a lack of memory, because to get onto Teams, everybody needs to know their student number. Now, your student number, everybody has the badge. People couldn't find their badges. We had to send their badges to them, send their numbers to them. So, and their password is their date of birth. And it's not just the date of birth, because it actually changed in between. It's the date of birth. So it's, you know, for example, 10th of January, but it's not just January, it's JAN, and J is the capital. So and then it was the year that they were born, so 2000 or whatever. So, you know, for lots of our learners, actually, they don't know their date of birth. So this was significant information that had to be given. Thank you. Okay, I've kind of moved on from there. So we also, the different devices. So that was also a barrier that we came up with. So a laptop looks totally different to the PC, their smartphone. Some didn't have smartphones. So we had to sort of come across all these various barriers. And all these were all really pivotal to the learner's experience. Luckily, once we got them back into the classroom, it changed again. So we had to go over what we'd sort of got over to. Thank you, Lynne. And this is some of the evidence. So for one of our classes, we made sure that, we got them back onto the computer. We made sure that they could actually do this successfully. And this is some of the evidence that they sent me once they got back onto the PCs. This is one of my learners. So this is just one of our learners who was just so grateful to actually master getting onto the computer, and made sure that he was so excited. I've got to tell my mum. I've got to tell my mum that I can do this. I've got to tell your mum. And we would have parents phoning us constantly, going, "Oh, that is fantastic! Oh I'm so grateful that you've given my young person this, or I'm so grateful that you've given my dad this experience, so that actually he can do it on his own." That was the thing. It was about giving them independence, giving them the knowledge that actually they could do it on their own. And that was just so huge. Okay. Now, these are the sort of subjects that we follow. These are the two. They're actually two guys, actually, that we followed all the way through. And for one of them, DB, he now prefers to do all his courses online. And he's like, "I don't want to come back to the college. I can do it online." So we've actually made sure that we've got some online courses. So for those students, actually, they're not shielding. They're actually just went, "I really enjoyed it online." We've got that, and that was really a real twist for us in our department, because we never ever thought that we could ever teach just online. So it was brilliant. Thank you. And for this young man, he lost his phone during the first lockdown, and it was just I don't want to use a computer. I don't want to, because for him it felt like cumbersome. Didn't want to do it. He was doing quite a lot of things from his bed. So to get the laptop, but once we actually sent him out a phone, it was like, "Oh, I feel better now." So we're also our way forward is doing this with community learner courses. Our ESOL courses, and also we've introduced accredited programs, and part of the accredited programs will have digital element in them, actually accredited element. And just to say, yesterday we got our first sort of thumbs up from Gateway to say that this course is, I've just got direct claims from it, so. Sorry, there's a whistle top. Did I go in time? Sorry.
Thank you so much. No, you're in plenty of time, and it's all credit to you to have done 2 presentations in one slot on 2 different rooms. So that's just brilliant. I'm just busy catching up with chat. So let's have a look at what we've got here. Let's see. So awesome about telling the mum, and says Joe. Ekaterina says it's an excellent way of supporting LDD learners. Sandra says it's fantastic. Carol says, I agree, it's very, very empowering. Andrew says, result. Harmesh from Coventry is saying, I agree, I have some learners who actually prefer online too. Ekaterina says it's great comments from the learners. And I think we do have an answer to our previous question. So someone was asking about whether the Coventry team gave learners passwords for their Jamboards. I'm not seeing the answer. So if a Coventry team member wants to pop in and just comment on that, of course, Lynne, yeah.
Right then, yes, you don't actually give a password. The Jamboard that you create, because you are the creator itself, you decide who you want to share it with.
Right.
So you can share it to each email address that you have for your learners, and then at the finish, when they've completed their work, you can delete it again. You can take them off sharing.
So actually there you've got some other file management and digital management skills being built as well, which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Do we have time for any other last comments or questions? We're very relaxed, so you can pop your microphones on if you don't want to have to type a question. David, I think we've got 2 minutes flat, have we? We've got 3 minutes. That's wonderful, brilliant. What is the planned length, asks Ekaterina, for the EDSQ LDD learners? So I think that's...
Do you mean the accredited program that we're doing?
You just said that you are doing your next step. You are planning accredited learning for the accredited essential digital skills courses for your LDD learners. So I was wondering how much is the length? So how long do you plan those courses for? Obviously, LDD learners will need more time. And I've seen your techniques. They are very good to sort of improve the knowledge and skills of the LDD learners. But I think if it's a qualification, then they would need more time. Have you thought about the length of the course?
Yes, what we've done is the Gateway are quite generous with their time, the accredited program. But what we've done is we've got the year. We've actually made it so that we've embedded it in a year's course, so we can and we've split it up. So one term we'll teach them something, another term we'll teach them something, another term we'll teach them something. So actually we've been able to manage it. Yeah. So it's actually only 2 to 3 hours. So that's how we've managed to do it. Yeah.
Great.
Hello.
Thank you. Great. Thank you, Maisie.
Neil, were you commenting? I think I saw was that right? I heard somebody. Oh, yeah. I was just trying to figure out who'd asked a question. Because I think I heard a microphone come on. Oh, it was Lynne. Go for it. Go for it.
Maisie, I can totally relate to every single thing that you just said. I'm also an LLDD teacher. I'll get my wording out, as well as mainstream. And exactly everything that you experienced was the same for myself. Because I'm also IT, I've been called on the council and adult education to help other learners get online. So the communication, hours of trying to tell somebody how to click on something, rang every bell. So well done, girl. Well done.
Oh, that's brilliant to get that affirmation from someone who's had a similar experience. And, I think 3 fantastic presentations and so diverse between, misinformation and assessment for and of learning with Jamboard and getting learners online in the first place so that they can do it, which is fabulous.